So not only will there be chaos in the U.S., but there will be different kinds of chaos. Hello, and welcome to America at the Crossroad, where religion, faith, and politics collide. Today's topic is Countdown to Chaos. And on this broadcast, I'm going to share with you the reasons why January 20 may prove to be the beginning of the most chaotic period in U.S. history. I'm going to share 3 points with you during this broadcast. Point number 1 is this. Chaos will begin as soon as Trump takes office because chaos will serve his purpose. So starting January 20th, America will experience one of the most chaotic periods in its history. And make no mistake about it, this is not hyperbole, nor is it gross exaggeration. This is a fact of life. Here's why I say that. This administration will be chaotic from the outset. And there is a very good reason why. Because the chaos will be intentional. The chaos will serve a purpose, as chaos always does. In most cases, and at the very least, in many cases. So chaos, ladies and gentlemen, when planned, always has a purpose and always has an objective. Chaos serves the aims of one group while plotting the demise of other groups. And the chaos that we are about to experience in this country will be intentional. And it will be extensive across several sectors. And I will permit Steve Smith, who is the former Republican strategist, to explain. Steve was recently on the Dave Pakman podcast when he said this. Take a look.
The desecrative nature of his early nominations, they suggest to me tremendous extremism aimed at annihilation of these agencies is functional for the purposes of creating chaos in order to assert the need for more power to end the chaos.
Do you understand what's going on here? He's referring to Donald Trump, and he said his administration is going to be chaotic. And he said the chaos will have the intention of creating an outcry in the country. And that outcry will be a call for him to end the chaos that he's created. So the end justifies the means. Do you understand where we're going here? The chaos will be pervasive, it will be extensive, and it will be incredibly disruptive. But there will be an objective for all of it. The greater the outcry against the chaos, the more Americans will play into the hands of this government. Permit me to explain. Some years ago, I did several messages about 9/11, and you should know that chaos and fear were created, on a massive scale when the planes hit the towers that day. And the fear of another attack was so great, and because there was so much death and destruction and fear at the crash sites, that Americans were willing to surrender their freedoms in exchange of the government's protection. So, in the aftermath of 9/11, the ensuing chaos terrorized Americans so thoroughly that many Americans pleaded with the government to protect them from further Islamic terrorists. And guess what happened? Americans traded their prized freedom in exchange for protection when the government created the Patriot Act that minimized and took away our rights, some of our rights and freedoms as American citizens that we've always enjoyed. The Patriot Act. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you can ignore me if you want to, but I'm telling you that the same thing is about to happen starting January 20th, 2025. So not only will there be chaos in the US, but there will be different kinds of chaos in this country. That leads me to point number 2. On January 20, economic chaos will begin because of Trump's tariffs. Donald Trump, presidential candidate Donald Trump, said on day one he will impose a 25% tariff on all imported goods from Canada and Mexico. He said he will also impose an extra 10% tariff on top of the 25% total tariff, bringing it to a 35% tariff on all goods imported from China. So 25% from Canada and Mexico and 35% for China. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Guess what? A tariff is nothing more than a euphemism and another word for tax. That is all it is. Any economist will tell you that. And all these countries are going to do is raise the price of their imported goods that they're importing into this country. And in the end, the American consumer, that's you and I, will end up paying higher prices, which is exactly what happened the first time that Trump was president. And the goods that he put the tariffs on, those countries that were importing those goods into the US raised the price of those goods. And we paid more. So now I want you to listen to this clip from Alex Wagner on MSNBC talking about the impact that those tariffs will have, particularly on the economy. Take a look.
Come from Mexico and Canada and China, the 3 countries that Trump is threatening to tariff. As an example, for years now, the U.S. has imported more crude oil from Canada than it has from the rest of the world combined. So for all of the Trump supporters who claimed one of their biggest issues was how expensive gas got under President Biden, well, buckle your seatbelts, folks, because gas may get a lot more expensive. Speaking of which, Trump's tariffs would likely make your car itself significantly more expensive. One Michigan-based auto industry consultant today told the New York Times the prospect of tariffs is a 2-alarm fire for the auto industry. There is probably not a single assembly plant in Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, and Texas that would not immediately be affected by a 25% tariff. Chrysler makes minivans in Canada. Chevy and Ford make pickup trucks in Mexico. Economists say that all of those vehicles and many others would become significantly more expensive if Mr. Trump follows through on his threat. Those higher auto prices would have a significant effect on overall inflation, and higher car prices would probably lead to lower sales and layoffs at auto factories.
A 25% tax on all the goods coming from Canada and Mexico. and a 35% tax on all of the goods coming from China. Do you know how many goods come from China alone? When you go to Amazon and you buy a product and it takes weeks to get to you, that's because it's coming from China. And this and we make cars in Canada and Mexico. And a 25% tax on the auto industry is going to be catastrophic, leading to lower sales and higher unemployment. Because the industry won't be able to handle it. And so higher prices for many products means, excuse me, a rise in inflation, but a loss in jobs. By contrast, the Biden administration created 16 million jobs, and just like the Obama administration, Biden is turning over, according to all of the economists, a very robust and awesome economy that Trump is about to ruin with his failed tariffs. Gas prices are going to go up. The price of automobiles are going to increase. That is going to lead to fewer sales, which will lead to massive layoffs in the auto industry. So these tariffs are going to cause economic chaos in America. Count on it. Ladies and gentlemen, it gets worse. So our food prices are also going to be affected. Watch this video also from the Alex Wagner broadcast on MSNBC. Take a look.
The impact of Trump's tariffs on the cost of groceries. Mexico and Canada are two of the biggest exporters of fresh fruit and vegetables to the United States. In 2022, Mexico supplied 51% of fresh fruit and 69% of fresh vegetables imported into the U.S., while Canada supplied 2% of fresh fruit and 20% of fresh vegetables. Think about that. A combined 53% of all of our imported fresh fruits and a combined 89% of all of our imported fresh vegetables. 89% of all imported vegetables.
%89 of all of the fresh vegetables that we purchase at the supermarket comes from Canada and Mexico. And he's going to put a 25% tax on that. So food prices are going to skyrocket because we import them from Canada to the north and Mexico to the south. And those of you who complained about the incredible Biden economy, merely because you are a partisan and he's a Democrat, or whatever your reasoning was, when all of this happens and you are screaming and cursing and complaining that you can't make ends meet because everything is higher, I don't want to hear one peep from you. Not one word do I want to hear from you. Not one. So how can I be so insensitive? Here's why. See, the orange man told you what he was going to do before he did it. You were duly warned. You really were. And guess what? It gets even worse than this. Check out this video clip about the impact that Trump's deportation plan and policy will have on another sector of our economy. Take a look at this clip.
Of labor and agriculture, nearly half of the nation's nearly 2 million farm workers lack legal status. The same is true of the workforce that makes up our domestic dairy and meat packing industries. Now, I am no professor of economics. Who am I to say that would make American grocery prices skyrocket? Luckily for me, Reuters talked to a food economics and policy professor who told Reuters that mass removal of farm workers would shock the food supply chain and drive consumer grocery prices higher.
All right, did you get that? 2 million farm workers are not legal in this country. They're the ones that pick it, package it, and then send it into the supply chain, send it into the supply chain that puts it on the shelves so that we can buy it and put it on our shelves at home. 2 million of them are not legal in this country. Do you want to know a fact of life? Let me share it with you. The Hispanics that do those jobs, no one else in America wants those jobs. No one else is going to work for those wages in those awful conditions the way they are treated, except many of those in the Hispanic community. Nobody else wants those jobs. Not African Americans, not Asians, certainly not Caucasians on large numbers are doing those jobs, taking those wages. But Hispanics who are coming here looking for a better life and a better way of life are taking those jobs. Farming industry, meat packing industry, the dairy industry, populated by Hispanics, many of whom are not legal. He's talking about deporting 15 million of them. Who's going to do those jobs? You? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, me personally, I don't care about the meat packing industry. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat. Me personally, I don't care about the dairy industry. I'm a vegan. What about you? I do care about the farming industry because we all eat produce. So when Trump begins to deport millions of Hispanics, it will directly affect our food chain. We need to get ready for the chaos that's about to ensue. Because if you have no one to pick the produce, package it, and then ship it across the country, then that means no food and no food items hit the supermarket shelves. And guess what ensues when there isn't enough food to feed our families? Chaos ensues when there is no food. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what's coming if he follows through with his plan. And guess what? It gets even worse if you can believe it. I want you to check out this next video clip about the impact on the housing market. Check out this clip.
That will feel the impact of Trump's agenda here. Take housing costs. Not only does the U.S. get the majority of its imported lumber from Canada, which Trump's tariffs would make 25% more expensive, but Trump wants to deport the labor force that builds a gigantic portion of America's housing. This weekend, Texas's construction industry sounded the alarm about just how devastating Trump's promised deportations would be for the industry's capacity to build. The CEO of the construction giant Merrick told NPR it would devastate our industry. We wouldn't finish our highways. We wouldn't finish our schools. Housing would disappear. They'd lose half their labor.
This is devastating. So check it out. The farming industry, dairy industry, meat packing industry, auto industry, building, construction, housing industry, populated by millions of undocumented workers in America doing those jobs. When Kamala ran, and I never knew this before, she declared that there's a housing shortage already in America. We don't have enough housing. And the experts, individuals from Merrick, said it would devastate the housing industry. We couldn't finish our roads, couldn't build schools. So here we go. Point number three. Trump's mass deportation of millions of Hispanics will cause chaos starting January 20, 2025. Chaos is going to ensue starting next month when ICE officers begin knocking on doors and rounding up Hispanics for the purpose of deporting them out of the U.S. Trump officials have declared that entire families may be deported, not just the undocumented ones, but the entire families. And so the question remains, how in the world is Trump going to pull off something that no president or no administration has ever even attempted before? And what you need to know is this: we are not prepared for, nor are we equipped to deport millions of people. Here's why. Because we have no place to house them. You need to understand that when the government starts rounding up tens of thousands of people at a time, they have to house them somewhere before they can, I don't know, put them on a bus, put them on a plane. All of that is going to cost trillions of dollars. It's going to wreck our economy. That's number one. Number two, you got to be able to house millions of people before you can deport them. You arrest them, you house them, then you deport them. That's the process. Guess what? The government right now, under its current congressional funding, only has space for 4,200 beds. So how in the world does he expect to deport 11? There are approximately 11 million illegal immigrants in this country. where's he going to house them? So that means we have to build housing and shelters and beds. I've already just told you that that industry is highly and heavily populated by the Hispanic community, many of whom are illegal. Where's he going to get the work from? How does he propose to do it? Here's his plan. I'm going to put up a graphic, and here's the graphic. Trump proposes to declare a national emergency to correct the problem. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any idea of what that means? Most of you do not, so let me explain it to you. I'm going to refer back to a sermon that I preached. I believe the year was 2007. I preached it at our Allegheny East Conference of Seventh-day Adventists camp meeting. The sermon, I'm putting it on the screen, is entitled, "Can It Really Happen Here?" In that sermon, I outlined the process by which a U.S. president literally turns America into a police state overnight and removes all of our constitutional rights and freedoms in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, literally overnight. So the question is, how could that be, preacher? Well, the same way that South Korea did it within the last week. All right? So I will not be surprised if in the very near future, the United States looks and feels like South Korea, because Yoon Suk Yeol, who is South Korea's president, in a late night TV broadcast mentioned that anti-state forces and that there was a threat from North Korea. Therefore, he declared martial law on South Korea. Here's one of the articles. He declared martial law. So, what does Trump and South Korea's president know that most Americans, especially most Seventh-day Adventists, don't know? It is this. Here's what they know, and here's what you must know. The president, for any reason that he deems necessary, for any threat that he perceives could threaten our national security, the president can declare a national emergency. For anything that he perceives threatens our national security, he can call a national emergency. Now, you also need to know that when he declares a national emergency, he passes into law, and I'm going to put it on the screen, Executive Order 11490, which authorizes FEMA, which stands for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to pass a litany of laws into order, which suspends the Constitution immediately, and it declares martial law and turns America into a police state literally overnight. Let me go through this again. When the president declares a national emergency, he passes into law Executive Order 11490. When he does that, it automatically authorizes the Federal Emergency Management Agency to pass a whole host of other executive orders shutting down the country based on the severity of the threat. When he declares a national emergency, the Constitution of the United States of America is suspended, and immediately, we no longer have any constitutional rights and freedoms. And he declares martial law, and he runs the country through the military. And guess what? Guess what? We lose all rights. We lose all freedoms. And he runs the country as he sees fit. And there's nothing we can do about it, because that's the law. So when Trump says he will declare a national emergency, he means he's going to declare martial law, and he's going to run the country however he chooses to run the country. And excuse my language. There's not a darn thing we can do about it. There's not a thing we can do about it. That's what you voted for. And so when all of this jumps off and you start losing your rights and your freedoms, and gas prices go through the roof, and there are food shortages, and you are complaining, here's what I want you to do. I want you to shut your mouth, because you voted for this. Because he told you it was going to happen. He didn't hide it, not one bit. He told you what he was going to do. And starting day 1, January 2025, he's going to do exactly what he said he was going to do. Now, I'm going to stop here, but at some point, I'm going to go through what happens when a president declares a national emergency, when a president declares martial law, when the Constitution is suspended, when Executive Order 11490 is passed by FEMA, and then FEMA passes a whole list of other executive orders. I'm going to walk you through all of that information. Because you need to know what's coming. And it is coming. Whether you believe it or not, whether you are ready for it or not, whether you want it or not, it's coming. So I'm going to stop here. I had 2 more points to share, but I think I'm good. Points 4 and 5, I'm not even going to put them on the screen. I'm just going to share them with you. Point number 4, Trump's revenge tour against his enemies will begin January 2025 and will cause much chaos and confusion, because he just appointed Kash Patel. He just fired Chris Wray, head of the FBI, and he just hired Kash Patel. So he's putting in all of his flunkies and wimps and his acolytes and his cronies who are going to do his bidding. They're there to serve him, not there to serve the country. They won't be faithful to their oath to the government. They're going to be faithful to him. Point number 5 is Donald Trump's cabinet picks will serve his interests and not those of the American people. So, I want to thank my extraordinary producer. She just does such an incredible job. Her name is Lorraine Edwards. Love her dearly. I thank you. I thank you so much for doing the incredible job that you do. I truly do appreciate all that you do. And so I'm going to conclude here, but here's what I want to say before we conclude. Ladies and gentlemen, if you value this content, and would like to receive more on a weekly basis, please do me a favor. Please help me grow this channel. When you watch this content, please hit the subscribe button and then hit that notification button, and then please like the video. If you think this content is valuable, then please share it with those that you know and come in contact with. All right? Please do that. Please like it, share it, and then hit the subscribe button so that every time we post, and we post every Monday morning, early on Monday morning, we will post this video as we do all others. If you want to be notified, then please hit that subscribe button, and then you will be informed that a brand new episode has been posted. I want to thank you for partnering with us. I want to thank you for listening and for viewing and sharing this information. I'm thanking you in advance for what I'm confident and hopeful that you will do. And so until next time, be blessed. I'll see you then. Thank you.